Welcome back one and all to the Boston Celtics Newsfeed powered by CLNS Media. I'm Mike Walsh, manager of the Celtics Newsfeed, and this is day 2 of our 2017-18 NBA preview. We'll be going day by day in alphabetical order, releasing a new team preview each day leading up to opening night for the Celtics, October 17th in Cleveland. Each of these preview podcasts will be accompanied by an outline blog post on our site at clnsradio.com. Today I'll be speaking with David Ostrowsky, one of our CLNS media writers and author of the book Game Over or Game On, How Pro Athletes Leave Sports and Enjoy the Game of Life, currently available on Amazon. The Nets and Celtics have been intertwined for years now, so without further ado, let's get into day 2 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed 2017-18 NBA season preview with the Brooklyn Nets and David Ostrowsky.
All right, we are joined by David Ostrowsky, one of our writers at CLNS Media, soon to be the clnsmedia.com website, currently over at clnsradio.com though. David, how are we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent. So David did the Brooklyn Nets preview for us, day 2 of this preview cycle. We're going to be running one episode each day, as I mentioned before. Brooklyn Nets coming up second alphabetically after the Atlanta Hawks yesterday. An interesting offseason, not exactly a quiet one for the Nets, but you still have, going through your sort of preview here, 20 wins last year. You have them jumping up 8 wins, but still not being much of a factor.
Yeah, I would have to kind of, agree there that 28 wins seems to be about their sailing. I think the Brooklyn Nets are still feeling the effects of the blockbuster trade that sent KG and Pierce over, back in, 2013, I believe. I think the bottom line is it's hard to win young in the NBA.
Sure.
And since Danny kind of fleeced the Nets, right? They took on the aging, veterans, which was good for a 1 or 2 year window. But, unfortunately that left them with no draft picks for the past 3 or 4 years, or at least no, high level draft picks. So the Nets are kind of in this rebuilding mode, and I think that's what you're seeing now. You got a couple nice additions that they've made this offseason, mainly through trade, nothing, no big free agent signings, so to speak. And, to be honest with you, they traded probably their marquee player, Brook Lopez, to the Lakers, and in return got, Timothy Mozgov and D'Angelo Russell, and there's some question marks there. So, yeah, it doesn't look like, there's going to be, to be honest, any big improvements from last year's record, and in fact, there very well could be some regression.
Sure. There's going to be some frisky talk about the Nets this season, given that they've had some good moves. I would consider those mostly in the front office, actually. Sean Marks taking over as GM, I think of February of 2016, and then Kenny Atkins just completing his first year as head coach. But you mentioned the big trade was the D'Angelo Russell, so that's a big switch we want to talk about here. D'Angelo Russell coming in, Brook Lopez going to the Lakers, also Timothy Mozgov, you mentioned, involved in that trade. And they actually just signed Tyler Zeller. So they're trying to make up, 70-80% of what Lopez got, and then hoping that D'Angelo Russell kind of blows up, because he's a number 2 overall pick a couple years ago.
Yeah, and his numbers weren't bad in LA. If you look at it, actually, I think he averaged around 14, 15 points a game the past couple of years. Obviously that first year there was that, embarrassing incident with Nick Young, which probably didn't endear himself too well to Lakers fans.
My girl Iggy.
That, yeah, exactly. So that didn't, he didn't get off to a favorable start there. But his, obviously being number 2 overall pick, you can't give up on the guy. It's only been a couple of years. So they take on that contract. Brook Lopez, I guess they weren't going to sign long term, so I suppose that made sense there. And then they take on Mozgov, who, relatively speaking, is not a huge contract. I think it's like $48 million for 3 years, which in today's NBA landscape, that's not terrible. And then Zeller, if he makes the roster, would be kind of. I think they were looking at Jared Sullinger, who just actually
you mentioned that in the preview.
China. Yeah. So I think there was some interest there, and then that didn't work out. So then they went to Zeller, another former Celtic.
Yeah. So they seem to be doing the right thing given their situation. They're trying to move forward. Obviously, they don't have their pick this coming year either. They won't have the 2018 first-round pick. That was dealt actually eventually to Cleveland. So that's another reason Celtics fans will be keeping an eye on the Nets. The better the Nets do, the better that trade looks that Danny Ainge made for Kyrie Irving. So hopefully for Danny Ainge's sake and his reputation, the Nets don't bottom out again. And it seems to be that they got a bunch of 2-3 year contracts that will get them to a reasonably competitive level this year. And then once they do start getting their own picks back, hopefully they won't be, downright, downtrodden.
I mean, in terms of additions, I think the two big ones that we didn't mention real quickly are Alan Crabb and then Damari Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
Carroll's probably the veteran of the group. He's 31 years old. He's been on a number of teams, including Atlanta, where he had a pretty good career, and then kind of regressed a little bit in Toronto. They ran an ISO offense that wasn't exactly suited for his talent. So, I think the hope is there. He's a contributing factor. But again, these guys are not, let's be honest, studs. They're not guys that are going to, make them a contender, let alone, even really a playoff team. But, for the time being, they're fillers, and, they could, make for some exciting nights at the Barclays Center.
Yeah, Damari Carroll should be an interesting addition once we get into the Celtics sort of matchups. But they also have Alan Crabb, who is under a monster contract, $19 million, I think, average over the next 3 years. And they're kind of similar positional, I think. So if that's going to be an interesting, training camp battle or what happens there. Crabb about 6 years younger, I think.
Yeah, he's 25 years old. He can shoot the three. Like you said, though, it's a pretty big contract. So, you hope that a guy like that can, contribute. But, again, not to be negative, but, Sports Illustrated just came out, I think, with their top 100 players going into this season. And there was one net on there. D'Angelo Russell was number 100.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, again, this isn't to be negative, but, you just look at the Eastern Conference. Obviously, you got Cleveland and Boston, goes without saying. And then there's a whole other, couple of different rungs of teams and,
For sure.
Toronto and Washington. And, the Nets right now, anyways, are not up there. But, who knows? Things change pretty quickly in the NBA. But, boy, that trade is looking not so great for them when they, got KG and Pierce.
No, hindsight has done them no favors in that deal. You mentioned ESPN. Oh, I have the ESPN rank up, and Russell comes in at 83. Again, the only net there, though.
Fantasy football is back, but if you got stuck somewhere the night of your league's draft and wound up with a team chock full of nobodies, the full-length season can be a chore. So why not try out FanDuel? I just picked it up this season, and I got to tell you guys, FanDuel is great. It's super easy with no long-term commitments, and you can pick your team when you want. That's huge for me. I'm never around when my friends have their fantasy draft. And as a bonus for you Newsfeed listeners, we've got a promo code so you can try out FanDuel for yourself. Go to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and use the code CelticsBeat to try FanDuel for free with no deposit required. You can even join one of our CLNS Media Listener Leagues. Compete against us. I recommend FanDuel.com/CeltsRoundtable. That's FanDuel.com/CELTS Roundtable. That's the Newsfeed Listener League. And you can pick a team against myself, Evan Valenti, Matt Ignall, any of our Newsfeed personalities. Again, visit FanDuel.com to claim your free contest and play for a share of $10,000. Just sign up using the promo code CelticsBeat. That's FanDuel.com, promo code CelticsBeat, void where prohibited.
We're with David Ostrowsky, one of the writers for CLNS Media. His preview of the Brooklyn Nets 2017-18 season is on the website today, Tuesday, and we're doing these day by day over the next month, I guess. We have 28 left, so we'll be getting busy over the next month. David, I want to get into, real quick, the matchups. We obviously know last year the Nets were 0-4 against the Celtics, but we're talking Boston here, try to tie this locally again. And the matchups are somewhat intriguing on a few levels. You have D'Angelo Russell, Jeremy Lin sort of, I guess they'll play together at point guard, shooting guard, maybe move Russell to the two, against Kyrie Irving in a matchup. So what do you see there? What is Kyrie able to do to those two?
Well, Kyrie, no one in the league, as far as I can tell, can finish better around the hole. He's quick. Obviously, I would expect him to handle those guys pretty well. Look, he's much younger than Lin. Russell, who knows? He's kind of a wild card. To be honest with you, it kind of depends on whether, he, like you said, if Lin's, playing, Russell might move over to the shooting guard spot. So who knows if he even match up against Irving. But, I think right now, those guys might get their points because Irving, can be a suspect defender, but I would expect Irving to have pretty good nights against those teams. And to be very honest, I'd be surprised if the Celtics didn't sweep the season series, winning all 4 games last year. They had a pretty easy time. I think opening night was a fairly close game, and there was another one that came down to the wire. But, for the most part, the Celtics had their way, and as they should. In terms of getting, the number 1 seed, these are games they shouldn't be losing to Brooklyn.
Correct, yeah. And that was obviously a big deal last year when every Nets loss was important for the Celtics draft position. Elsewhere in the sort of matchups, they're going to have some guys that they can throw at Gordon Hayward and at Al Horford. You think defensively, if they, Damari Carroll, Alan Crabb, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, a bunch of bodies that can throw at Hayward on the wing, and also, Mozgov, huge body, 7'1", 7+ footer. Tyler Zeller gets in there as well. They got some bodies that they can throw at Hayward, but I think the skill level on Boston should take over, correct?
You would think. I think the only question mark really is the rebounding. Celtics had a lot of people rebounding last year, especially, in the offensive glass. So, I think that's an area where Brooklyn could compete with them. But if our bigs, Horford, can kind of contribute in that area, you would have to think, again, the Celtics would probably have their way. But I would think the rebounding would be the only question mark.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to predict, hopefully, a season sweep here, correct?
I would be very surprised if it's not a season sweep, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much to David Ostrowsky for joining us. His book, you can pick it up over on Amazon, Game Over or Game On. David talks to a whole bunch of former NBA players. It's a good read. So thanks to David. That's the Brooklyn Nets 2017-18 NBA season preview here on the Celtics Newsfeed, powered by CLNS Media.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Boston Celtics Newsfeed 2017-18 NBA preview. Again, you can get more analysis on the CLNSradio.com site. Be sure to subscribe to the Celtics Newsfeed, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and of course the CLNS Media Network's mobile podcast app. Tune back in tomorrow when I will speak with CLNS Celtics Editor-at-Large Cory Prescott about his preview for the Charlotte Hornets. Once again, this is Newsfeed Manager Mike Walsh signing off.